All right, welcome, welcome, welcome. Great to have you all here. Thanks for registering and joining us today. Today's topic in our monthly Admin Insights 30-minute power sessions is about clarifying standards. We often get asked questions when we're out at districts like, what are the essential standards for science? Do we have priority standards in science? And so those kind of questions out in the field kind of prompted us to put this together. So let's just take a look at what we're up to today. But before we do that, just find the chat, say hello, tell us what school and district you're from or what organization. So just want to get a feel for who's in the room with us, and then we'll be on our way. So thanks for coming into the space. Say hello in the chat if you don't mind. Welcome, Carrie. All right, Lisa, welcome. Great to have you here. Thanks for being here. Welcome, Christine. Welcome, Valer. Oh, Lisbeth, welcome. All right, great. Wonderful to have you here. Great. All right, couple folks from Tucson, couple people up in Phoenix. All right, well, welcome everyone. We'll get going here. My name is Rebecca Gorelli. I'm ASTA's Professional Learning Specialist, and with me is Sarah Torres, the Executive Director for ASTA, and we're going to be your facilitators for today. So great to meet you all. Reminder that you're here for the August session, but we do have 3 more sessions to close out the year. And so I'm going to invite you to read over our goals for this short time we have together today. All right, so let's dive into this. But before we dive into all of these goals for today, let's get you the resource collection. Sarah just put that in the chat. It's not a big one today. These are short little meetings, so we just have a couple things we're going to use today. And so I'll wait till you all kind of come into the resource collection. I see you in there. And so on the resource collection, you'll see our emails if you want to reach out to us. All of our important websites are up here. And then down here in number 1, this is where I will put the slides afterwards, and I will link the recording right here. I upload it to YouTube and then put the link in here. So as long as you have this document, you will get the recording and the slides, but I will send it out afterwards as well. So as we move forward in the presentation, I'm just going to call out these numbers and say, okay, let's open resource number 2, etc. So everybody should have this, and we're going to get going here. So in the chat, just to kick it off, I want you to kind of put your thinking cap on and just think about, what do we mean by essential standards? This is a word that's out there like a lot. So in the chat, just take like a meta moment, think about some ideas. And when you hear the word essential, what comes to your mind? What does the phrase essential standard mean to you in this context? What's your understanding? So I'll be quiet. I invite you to drop some ideas in the chat. All right, thanks, Christine, for kicking it off. All kids are held accountable for the standard. All right, thanks. Most important standards before moving on to the next grade. Okay, foundational to build upon in future years. Thank you for that. Agreed upon standards, deep learning capacity for transfer. Ooh, critical learning goals. Thank you. Must master for a grade level. Everyone must master, not just have the opportunity to learn. Okay, so the word master is coming up here. Priority. Okay, prioritize set of standards, crucial knowledge and skills. Okay, all right, so we've got this idea, right? Like this word is thrown around a lot, especially in content areas that are not science. And so just wanted to start with like, what are our ideas around this term? So thank you for thinking about that. Let's go a little bit deeper into thinking about what this means in the Arizona Science Standards. So to start us off, we are a different content area. We are not ELA and we are not math. In science, essential standards look very different. And so we're just going to start kind of with the basics of what do we mean by ELA and math essential standards. So according to the ADE materials that are out there, this is the definition. In ELA and math, essential standards are individual standards selected to receive a greater proportion of questions on the AASA exam. So the context is really about what's being prioritized for questions on the exam. So think about that. And now we're going to kind of put our science hats on. And so in science, we have the AZ Sci, which is a little bit different. And in science, the way our standards were developed, the essential standards, that language is only used in high school science standards. So let's start there. So the word essential is only tagged to high school. And we're going to take a look at those a little bit later. In K-8, there are not essential standards called out in any of the standards documents. There is no term essential. And what that means is that all the standards in kindergarten through 8th grade in science are all considered essential and necessary. So just to kind of high level think about how we are different, just think that when ELA and math are talking about essential standards, it is not in the same way or equivalent to how science is describing essential standards. So we're going to kind of look at this a little bit deeper and think about where those high school essentials are and then what's going on in the K-8 space. And so where we're going to start is this bullet point here, this highlighted one. We're going to take a look at where the term essential standards lives in high school. So I'm going to invite you to kind of read through these bullets with me. In high school, there are 28 essential standards that have that term tied to it. What are these? These are exactly what you all put in the chat. They're intended for all students to have learned by the end of those 3 credits of high school science courses. And those essential standards, all of them, can be assessed on the AZ-Sci state test. What's a little bit different about high school and the reason behind why those are called essential is because high school also has something called plus standards. And we're going to take a look at them in just a moment on the next slide. But there's a difference here. High school has these 28 essentials, and then they have supporting standards that are called plus standards that are really designed to be used with those umbrella essentials. And those are there for those of you who work in high school districts and are the district coordinators. You know that these are there to help build those course pathways. And those may be assessed by the district, but they're not going to be incorporated into the AZ-Sci. And so let's just take a quick glance at the high school standards kind of layout document. If you look here, these ones have the term essential tagged to it. So essential high school standards 16 is right here. Then underneath those supporting standards that support the essential are identified with the word plus and the symbol plus. So now you can see what is considered essential and what is considered plus. And this is in all contents like earth and space domains. So life science, physical, chemistry, all of that. And so that's high school. High school is where we only see the word essential listed. Now, if we come down to the K-8 level, that language is not used. So what we are going to look at to try to understand what we mean in the K-8 space, we have to put on our 3-dimensional hats and think about what is inside of these standards and what is on the AZ-Sci that is being assessed. So a reminder, our standards are built with the 3 dimensions. So these are intertwined, never taught in isolation. Practices are those verbs through which the students perform the science, what they do, how they actively engage in sense making. Cross-cutting concepts are lenses or thinking tools we provide to the students to help them gather information and make sense of phenomenon, look for relationships, patterns, and systems. And then the core ideas is really where we're going to live to understand how the AZ-SCI reports on the standards. The core ideas are one of the key pieces. And this is the content, those core concepts that are in kindergarten all the way through high school. Those big pieces that talk about laws, theories, and what we used to just call scientific terms. So all those central ideas to science. So I'm going to pass it over to Sarah to help us really think about the K-8 space and these core ideas. So Sarah, you want to come on in?
Thank you, Rebecca. Welcome, everyone. As we look at this distribution of our core ideas across K-12, I really want you to just take a moment and just look across horizontally. And what do you notice? We have 3 main disciplines in science. We have our physical science, our earth and space science, and our life science. And within each of those disciplines, we have core ideas. For physical science, 2 core ideas in the earth and space science discipline, and four in the life science discipline. So just give you a moment to put in the chat, what do you notice about how those ideas are distributed across specifically K-8?
And if you'd like to look at the resource more deeply, you can open number 2 in the resource collection. It's right here.
What do you notice? And again, go ahead and put your ideas in the chat, and as you look through those, just looking at that distribution. Thank you, Krisha. Yeah, they kind of spiral. It's not just not every core idea is taught every year. Oh, yeah, they're addressed at least with one time in each grade band. They're distributed across the grade levels. So it's not that every grade teaches all 10 core ideas at one time. And so I think that's really important to know. But I want us really we're going to kind of look at the P1, that very first core idea for a moment. And as it was said, it's in each grade band. And if we think about K-8 not having the word essential tied to it, but they are essential because every standard um, is essential for the foundational of the next level. So go ahead, Rebecca, you can move to the next slide. So when we think about this and we think about just the P1, and P1, our physical science core idea, all matter in the universe is made up of small particles. That is a foundational core idea. That is what you and I are made of. It's the stuff, it's what our coffee or our water is. It's what, as Rebecca's drinking her coffee, as I can see, as it's the cup that it's made from, it's the chair that we're sitting on, it's the air we breathe. It is foundational knowledge, and it begins in K2. And we can just kind of think of it as a sink and float activity, right? To understand this, to understand P1, we begin with something very simple for our students to think about. All the matter in the universe is made up of very small particles. Foundational, which leads us, Rebecca, if you can click, it leads us to the next level in 5th grade where it comes back around, it spirals, right? So if I have this foundational knowledge of that, hey, things are different and matter's different and starts to act differently, I can then understand as a 5th grade teacher, deepen that knowledge and think about why can some things like our sugar and salt, we can put them into our water. They look like they disappear, they're gone, but they're still there, right? We can see it. Why is that? And that builds the foundation for our middle level grades, 6th and 8th grade, to understand this phenomena of two bottles that look like they have same types of materials inside of them, but they're flipped. Why is that? Why is the behavior of that? And beginning to think about the matter of the density of the objects. And it goes even further because this is such a foundational standard or core idea. It helps us understand, as I said, we breathe in, right? The air, which is part of our earth and space unit, which is the composition of the earth and its atmosphere and the natural and human processes occurring within the shape of the earth's surface. It helps us to understand the earth and space core ideas, which ties in that we can continue to build on in high school. So, and we think about weather conditions and how we have they'll talk about the fronts coming in and the low system and high pressure system, all based on our physical standards, our P1, but they're E1 standards, but it also has that foundation from the P1. So it's so critical for K8 to teach science and specifically at those K2 levels that provide the foundation for 3rd through 5th grade to teach, because it is a progression. And our teachers don't have time to binge teach, and our scholars do not have time to binge learn. So let's take a moment and read this, as which you already noticed, but take a moment to read this quote from the Next Generation Science Standards for States. It is a continuous learning. Our structure of our standards makes it so the foundation to build knowledge for at the upper elementary, middle school, and high school. It was built in a very intentional way. If we take a look at standards, and this just rather than a P1 standard, this is an earth and science standard. We can tell it's an earth and space science because of the E, right? But the core ideas are coded into our standards so we know what core idea we're teaching, from what discipline. And as we move through, we can go to the next one, Rebecca. We can look at how many standards are at each grade level. As Rebecca noted earlier, there are 28 high school essential standards that actually have that title, essential. But in K8, all of them are essential. Kindergarten has 8 of them. 1st grade, 11. 2nd grade, 10. And if you look now, rather than horizontally, and you look down vertically at kindergarten, They provide some foundational knowledge to build upon for the second and for first grade, second grade, and third grade. Why is it important to look at this distribution in both ways, horizontally and vertically, as leaders and as for teachers? We can see that if one grade doesn't teach their essential standards, it leaves a void for the future grades. And that's why they are all essential in K-8. Go ahead, Rebecca. So one of the main goals of having this core idea structure is for that we can go deeper. Our standards are very different. For those of you who were in the Arizona education arena before 2018, our standards looked different. They were it was like a list of facts. Students know this, students can identify this. And now they're so much more robust where they're figuring out the world around them. And there's not very many of them per grade level. So that less of the standards provides more time to go deeper into the learning so that students can have that deeper depth of understanding to figure out the world around them. I'm going to pass it back to Rebecca for us to consider how all of this works and thinking about, so how does this go with the science assessment? Rebecca?
Yep, thanks, Sarah. And so, as Sarah just mentioned, it's not about this vast array of facts that we're memorizing anymore. It's really this limited number of ideas, right? So, if we look at this spread, the distribution, like think about this kindergarten for a whole year of instruction only has 8 standards. Hence, they're all essential. First grade only has 11, right? Second grade only has 10. It is very different than how math and ELA are kind of set up. So, in thinking about how all of these standards are built on a progression and necessary for future grades, this means all of these are on the AZ side, right? All of them are fair game. All of them are in the assessment. And the way it's reported, which I'm sure you've seen this before, but I did link the ADE assessment website if you want to go down that rabbit hole. But really, our reporting looks a lot different than ELA and math. And so I wanted to bring this forward because, again, we get these questions of, where are the essential standards for science? Where are the priority standards? And when you look at the reporting, it's very interesting the way it's spread out. So if you look up here, you'll see you get reporting in the 3 core idea domains: physical, earth and space, life. No reporting on standards whatsoever. It's these bigger buckets. And then you have the other 2 dimensions. So science and engineering practices and cross-cutting concepts in physical science, in earth and space, in life science. So even our reporting looks a lot different. So we're going to spend the last 1 minute kind of just side by side comparing. And so, a couple key differences that we just wanted to call out and have you think about now that we've kind of went down the understanding of what these core ideas and how they build and are all essential for the whole progression, is when you look at the performance level descriptors. If you look at hours for AZ side, these are grade banded. So it doesn't even specifically say P1 in third grade, P1 in fourth grade. it gives you P1, this core idea in third, fourth, and fifth, because our standards are from the framework were always meant to be grade banded, and which is very different from the way the PLDs are for the AASA, which is grade level specific. So if you look at these are detailed per standard. We do not have this per standard. Ours is focused on those central key ideas in science called core ideas. Those are the key pieces that are important for the progression and are essential for building knowledge over time. So we do not get down to the standard level in these PLDs like AASA does. So we just kind of wanted to call that out and help you think about it now that we've kind of gone high level about what does essential really mean in science. And so again, ours are related, not standard related, but core idea related. And again, this means these key pieces in these grade levels are really the building blocks or foundations, which is essential for learning over time. So these key ideas build, and therefore the standards that happen in these boxes are essential for building the foundation for the next grade band. And so just wanted to do a high level summary of like what is tested on the AZ side, all the standards, right, for grades 3 through 8. And then in high school, it's those 28 essential, which just means not the plus standards. And a reminder that the AZ Sci is a grade band test, not like the AASA, that's grade level. And so there is no extra weight in our AZ Sci test to specific standards. So we also said in our description of this webinar, this meeting, that we would also give you some tools of thinking about where engineering focused standards live. And so if you haven't seen this document before, we did kind of put it together. It's number 4. And a reminder that our standards do have some engineering components in them. And so this is just kind of a distribution from ADE that I just took these pages out and put together. And a reminder that U1 standards mean we're in the realm of science, trying to figure out the world around us and phenomenon. And then engineering lives in the U2 bucket, where we use the knowledge produced by science to design solutions to problems. And then we have U3, which is that real world science application piece. So if you're thinking about, okay, where do these engineering come into play, a reminder that those are part of the standards and have these core ideas as well. But the way you'll know is because the coding changes to a U2 instead of a U1. That is how you know in that core idea, that's an engineering focus. And so I hope that made sense to you what we're presenting, and reminder that we've done previous sessions in the past, how to boost success on AZ Sci, tools for supervisors. A lot of sessions in the past were designed based on questions we heard from the field. And that is how we created these sessions as well. So next month, we're going to bring back those observation tools that we brought forward in February, because folks wanted to see how to use those tools in action. So we're going to watch some classroom videos and actually use the observation tool with a classroom video. And then October and November's are up on the website. So if you want to register for those, and if you want to provide feedback, you're welcome to. We do read these surveys. Sarah's going to drop the link, and that's how we build topics for the next session. So if you've got any topics that you would like us to cover and kind of build content around, we are happy to do that. So let me grab this real quick. Here you go. If you want to give feedback, please do. I will put the recording in the resource collection and add the slides, and I'll send you a follow-up email. So thank you for joining us today. And that's what we have. If you want to stay on for questions, we're happy to do that for a little bit of time. But otherwise, thanks for coming, and hope to see you on another one.